won't disrupt our talk today. This is the third in a series of 3 COAT talks, Community of Artists Transform, which is an acronym for a movement, I hope, that takes off, and we feel like it already started in November, where we collaborated regionally with another artistic movement and group in Jacksonville to actually intervene in different communities through the use of art. Beautiful murals, installations, and technology, and what we call the Light Project, and Techism, and we have already seen a lot of differences in communities in Jacksonville. We did the same in Fort Lauderdale in November, and that was covered in the first 2 days of our talks. Today is really exciting personally for me because it's a lot of information that I don't know about. And that is, I got excited about these folks being here to talk to you about this, what it means to be in the Venice of America. That's what Fort Lauderdale calls itself, and that is a high calling, right? To call yourself the Venice of America. So what does that mean culturally, historically, environmentally, and artistically? And so each element is going to be discussed today by each one of our speakers. And I'm going to let David Benjamin, who's a collaborating partner with me in this effort, introduce them, and then they're going to take us on an exploration of what it means to be in the Venice of Americas.
So, I hope you don't mind if I don't stand up, but I'm going to sit down like the panelists. So, to my immediate right here is Colin Polsky, and this is not in the order of presentation, this is just in the order of who's next to me. Colin Polsky is the director of the Center for Environmental Studies, which is an interdisciplinary, scientific, and scholarly center at Florida Atlantic University out in Davie that is studying climate change, the environmental effects of climate change, and the general environmental effects of human habitation, especially in relationship to the fact that we live here in the only known swamp at this latitude on the Earth. So we live in a unique place that has a unique ecology. And he runs that center, and he's also a professor of geosciences, I think. And he's a published scholar with a whole list as long as my arm of papers. So he knows what he's talking about. I think that's what he claims anyway. So to my next right here is an architect and well known in the South Florida community, and also actually by the federal government because he's worked for them to do studies about South Florida and how the South Florida Water Management District, for example, and cities and the counties and the state and the federal government are managing water and climate change. And he produced a study, I believe in the 90s, that was a seminal study about the trend of sea level rise and what's going to happen to the cities here and solutions about what we could do. Many of those solutions have not been done, and we don't know if they're ever going to be done. But it's through efforts like this about talking to the public, because it's the public who have the power when you vote to make change. And so it's very interesting to hear about his work, because his work goes back more than 20 years. And he can produce a bit of history about the effort and how far the effort has come, and I think also hope for the future. That objective hope for the future. To my last one on the right here, but last but not least, is Charles Roberts, who is also a professor of geosciences. He's a geographer. He's especially a cultural and historical geographer, I believe. And he has studied extensively Venice, and both the construction techniques of Venice and its cultural history and architecture and its art, and I assume some of the socio-economic and political decisions about why they built Venice, these floating islands, and how the money and politicized interests of Venice over the last 500-600 years have survived in Venice so far, even though if you see pictures of Venice online, you'll see that people, when they go to work, they walk in like 2 feet of water sometimes, just because that's the way it is. Well, he's going to show us maybe ways from a historical perspective about how we in South Florida can avoid that, because nobody wants to walk to work in 2 feet of water. So with that, I'm going to give the floor to Dr. Roberts, who's going to speak. Do you have a mic stand? Yeah, you got a mic stand.
Thank you.
Hello?
It's on.
Okay, I'm going to stand, and you can go to the first slide.
You got it, Charles.
Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about ancient and modern Venice and how they cope with water. This photograph you see